Hello, welcome back to Scorpio's Point. I'm Angela.
And I'm Raven. So today we're going to talk about the focus of positivity, positive thoughts, positive vibes, and the impact that it has on our mental health. I've noticed with everything going on through the pandemic that there is a big focus on life coaching and therapeutic services that are offered across social media, encouraging people to focus on the positive, to look at the silver linings, to consider the bright side. And while I think that developing a skill to think about the positive sometimes can be so helpful and really necessary, sometimes we get consumed by negative thoughts that are toxic, and it's important to develop tools to be able to, look at alternative perspectives. This constant need to be, flooded with positivity, I don't think is always helpful for me, and I wonder if it is for other people.
And that's a good point, because what I'm wondering is it realistic to think that every day is going to go positively? So if we're harnessing and polishing all of our positive skills, what if things don't go well?
Exactly. And I think that there's so much value to a lot of these workshops and webinars. I think that those services are really important. And I think it's really wonderful that we have at our fingertips access to so much of that now. There's so much research that shows that, focusing on the positive sometimes can really change the way that our brain is operating in the moment. But we can't forget about the importance of also working with the, negative or undesirable feelings and emotions that we also have. If we don't learn to work with them, then what are we doing?
Exactly. I think we can learn a lot about ourselves through these negatives, and therefore build resiliency. I don't think it's fair to deny ourselves that, or to feel like we're failing because we just had a negative thought, or we're not feeling that great today and there's something wrong. I think you're denying yourself like a huge part of what it is to be a human being, which is like to experience like all of the emotions and feelings and day-to-day life, right?
We know that resiliency is the ability that we all as humans have to overcome something that's challenging or some kind of trial. We are resilient by nature, and we can enhance those skills by practicing overcoming, negative experiences or something that we don't know that we can overcome, and then we do and we're shocked. And so we look at that as positive because the outcome is positive, but in order to become resilient, we need to be able to recognize something negative is happening and develop a tool to get through it.
Right. I think that's a huge opportunity to learn. Like if you have a thing on the go tomorrow that's new to you, maybe you're giving a speech, maybe for the first time, and it's not that there's anything wrong with thinking of it going positively, but like if it doesn't, okay, it didn't, right? So how can you learn from that to get better? And then the next time you get up on stage again or get in front of an audience again, maybe it won't be so hard because you just maybe embarrassed yourself in front of tons of people, and you're building your resilience and your skill set. And you get to fail, experience something a little bit unpleasant to get there.
That's right. I did a workshop with Danielle Laporte, I guess is how you pronounce her name. And one thing that really stood out to me is the importance of looking at our negative emotions or negative experiences and say, okay, what is happening right now? Is this toxic? And am I allowing it to consume me? If it's toxic and destructive, I need to do something to stop, to get rid of it. And you can develop all kinds of skills to do that, even if it's positive self-talk or stopping a situation that's making you feel that way. But if the negative situation or feeling is actually just uncomfortable because you're growing and because you're learning something, because sometimes growth is uncomfortable, then we can also decide, okay, how am I going to respond to this in a way that's healthy?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. So it's not just like positive and negative. It's also identifying, okay, so like the negative, could this benefit me, or is it like useless stuff that I can just toss aside? And I guess like in terms of labeling things as positive and negative, like that's how we operate in the world, is we identify and label things. But sometimes I wonder if maybe we kind of stepped out of all those labels, and what do we see when we don't identify so strongly these experiences as positive and negative?
So basically, I'm wondering, are other people having this experience where you know, we're all struggling at this time. Everyone is struggling right now in some way with the pandemic. So, you know, we often turn to social media or to the internet to find ways to like help us, you know, cope with these difficult things. And there's so much online that can be very helpful. But are people seeing what I'm seeing, which is, you know, this flood of positivity inducing like tips and tricks?
That's all I see on YouTube.
And in a lot of the books that I'm reading, it's all about that. It's all about, you know, the research that says that positive self-talk, you know, focusing on positive thoughts, positive experiences, how it can change brain structure, and it's healthy for us.
Mm.
And so, I mean, you can't dispute that. I mean, there's studies to say that it actually is helpful, but
Sure.
is there a limited amount that we should be focusing on?
Right. Right. You're saying that maybe it's not the complete story.
Yeah, maybe it's not like that's not the whole package.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there has to be more to it. So I reached out to a couple of people in my circle to just kind of see how people are feeling. One of my friends said, you know, pretty much the same thing. And while she knows that there's value to it, sometimes when you're in a rough spot, it can be really helpful to look at the silver lining to get out of, you know, this toxic rumination of like, everything is bad. I hate my life. But at the end of the day, are you developing tools to like be able to cope with what is actually tough?
But I wonder if it is that simple then, and if it is, like, is it really working? Because we have like more and more people who are experiencing like depression and anxiety, and probably on medication for it. So like, if it was that simple of like, oh, I'm just going to see the bright side in this particular situation, whatever it may be, wouldn't people typically be happier?
This constant focus on, you know, inward, like actually intensifies our emotions. And this, you know, it's pretty Western of us to be very self-focused. And in a lot of ways it's okay. But, you know, there's also evidence that when you're focusing on something other than you, things that are like bigger than you, beyond, you know, your feelings, that there's more happiness to be found.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because that is what I was thinking. Like, I think things are good in a I think everything is probably good in moderation. It's okay to reflect and wallow in your feelings, whether they're good or bad. But at some point, you got to you got to come outside of yourself, so to speak. You know what I mean? And be in the present moment, which goes in line with what you're saying a minute ago.
Exactly. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of thinking about, you know, the positivity that comes from meditation. And I think a lot of what, you know, makes it positive is not necessarily that we're focusing on feel good vibes, but that we're in the here and now. And that's what actually makes it feel good. So then it brings us back to the question is it actually a positive experience, or is it a helpful experience? And is that why it's good? You know, some forms of meditation don't involve any specific thought patterns. Sometimes it's just about getting yourself in the right now moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. I meditate quite a bit, but I don't know if I would have ever like labeled it as positive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, I don't think that would be the word to describe it for myself. Not Definitely not when I'm in the moment. I don't think positivity can come from it, or
Mm-hmm.
helpfulness can come from it, but not in the moment. I don't know. I don't really have a label for it. I guess it's just a thing that is.
Yeah, you're just
It's so
existing,
present. It's so present. I don't know if you can label it.
which can allow you to perceive both positive and negative, you know, experiences or energies or vibes or whatever you want to call it, which also means that there might be unpleasant feelings that come up when you're meditating. And that's why it's important to also be comfortable to acknowledge those too, and to recognize
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah, that's actually reminding me of a conversation that I had with my dad. Actually, I remember and like I'm always like practicing meditation, but like sometimes I'm kind of more into it than others. And at this particular phase, I was going through this, like, I'm going to meditate every hour, every evening, an hour in every evening. And I remember I meditated for about an hour, and for whatever the reason, when I came out of that meditation, I had anxiety, and I couldn't pinpoint it or label it. I remember talking to my dad, and he was like, "Well, meditation isn't supposed to give you anxiety; it's supposed to make you calm." And I don't know what happened, if the meditation caused anxiety, or if it was just two independent things that just happened to coincide at the same time or not. But um, it doesn't always have to be like a positive feeling, I don't think, that comes from it. And I think that actually, if you're going to go in and expect something from it, I think that's also kind of taking away from the meaning of what meditation is. And like in my
mm-hmm.
practice, like I I consider like yoga with Adrian. I'm sure a lot of people know who I'm talking about when I say that. And he uploads YouTube videos and talks a lot about like mindfulness and meditation and yoga. And what I really like about her practice is that like there's the yin and the yang, so it's like the opposites, and we kind of honor that, not denying one and just accepting only certain parts of it, but accepting all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know like a lot of other people who do what she does, you know, she does have videos that are focused on, you know, breathing in the good vibes or the good energy and letting out the negative. And I think that sometimes you do need a flush, and sometimes it is really great to have that experience. But then she also has videos where she can say like, you know, you're probably, if you, you know, looked up this video, you're probably having a really rough day. So let's just go with that. Let's just go with what you're feeling and like work it out, because we hold tension in our bodies, and we experience sometimes those negative or unpleasant feelings. You can still be present with something that's not overly pleasant.
Absolutely. And I think that actually some of my most deepest meditations have come from going into meditation feeling like despair or grief or anxiety, depression. You know what I mean? Like
sometimes that's when we learn the most about ourselves, like when something is tough.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's when I've had my greatest life lessons, I suppose, is those yucky feelings that we don't particularly enjoy in the moment.
That's right. So then I wonder why. Go ahead, sorry.
I think I was just about to answer your question, actually. I think it probably feels worse. Like the reason why you think it's so bad when you're in the moment is because you're never really in the moment either. Like you're sitting in whatever it is that you're sitting in, but you're also probably worrying about the future. If it's your health, for example, like, oh, maybe my doctor is concerned about something, so that doesn't feel very good and it's in your mind, but then like your mind runs away with you, right? Maybe you're Googling symptoms, maybe you're thinking about the worst case scenario and going over, when you talk to your doctor next week, you're going over different conversations. So like you're not even really in the moment either, right?
When we are not actively engaged in an activity that's using our like cognitive processes, it only takes a fraction of a second for us to go into default mode. So let's say we allow ourselves to process something that's uncomfortable, like grief or fear, anxiety about the pandemic, whatever. It only takes a fraction of a second once we stop doing that for us to go off into wonderland. Then we're worrying, like you just said. Next thing you know, now we're associating that legitimate feeling in the present with fear about tomorrow that aren't necessarily connected to it.
Right.
So the practice of getting ourselves back to the present, to right now, and asking, are these facts actually connected? Like fact check.
So based on what you just said, do you think that the act of being present or mindful is a practice?
Absolutely.
Something that you have to practice? Yeah. I definitely agree as well. Like when I meditate, like let's just say I'm meditating for like, I don't know, 20 minutes. Like definitely 95% of that time, 95% for sure, like my mind is everywhere. It's probably only like 5% of the time am I actually like, oh, I just like at this like felt my breath, the rhythm for maybe like 3 breath cycles or something like that. And then my mind is gone again, you know?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember the number, but the percentage is like 49 or 50% of the time our minds are wandering.
Wow. That's a lot. That's
a lot. That's a lot of the time your mind is not actively engaged in something in the present.
Half the time.
And when our minds wander, it stimulates the same centers of our brain that are responsible for thinking ahead and thinking in the past. So it's like this amazing thing that we can do where we can think about like, oh, I wonder about tomorrow, I wonder about yesterday, but then, you know, our imaginations in those centers of the brain combined are like, oh, is tomorrow going to be really horrible, or did I make a mistake yesterday? So we're thinking about other perspectives, but is it good for us to be constantly in those perspectives 50% of the day?
Yeah. Sometimes I watch my dog and I put myself in his paws. Not sure so he doesn't wear them. In his paws. And and so typically he's like, if I say the word to him, walk, he'll get excited. If I say vet, he'll get anxious. But he's not like, I don't think, going around the house either excited or anxious in anticipation of potentially going for a walk or to the vet. He's just like down on the couch chilling right now. Or like, when am I going to the vet again? Oh my God, like put his paws up like this. Oh, vet.
Yeah, like I wonder, did I embarrass myself when I fart at the vet yesterday?
Want to sniff that other dog's butt? Should I not have done that?
Did I do that in a weird way? Did they think I was weird when I sniffed their butt? right? But I wonder, my question then is,
Mm.
what is it that leads us to think that negative feelings or experiences are so yucky?
I was thinking either maybe it's because they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then I also wonder too, like, we spend more time probably in our jobs than what we do home.
Mhm.
I hear people say that all the time, like, oh, my workplace is like my home. They're like my family. I see them more than what I do my own family. I mean,
Yeah.
when you go into your
Yeah.
job, you're expected to be like,
Mhm.
leave your shit home, leave your baggage home, whatever you got going on, leave that at the doorstep, and then go into work for 8, 10, 12 hours and just smile and be
Yeah.
professional and be positive.
Be your perfect
Positive
self.
workplace, be your perfect
Yeah.
self. Yeah.
I think you're right, and I do know that experience. I can absolutely relate to it, but I wonder, does it carry over into all aspects of our life, and are we just flooded by these expectations, whether we put it on ourselves or it's handed on to us,
Mm,
to always be positive? Yeah, like
mm.
does it go along with this obsession that our culture seems to have about perfection? Like, is constantly
Yeah.
focusing on positive another part of like the perfect life? Because everywhere you look, everyone seems happy on social media. Everyone in movies seem happy. Like everything is bright. All the colors are yellowy and orangey, and everything seems so sunshiny and pleasant.
Hmm.
And there's a little life challenge. Each episode of your favorite show, there's like a little daily challenge, and they overcome it, and everything is so great at the end of the day.
Everything is great at the end of the day. Yeah.
There's always a brighter side and a lesson to be learned, and I'm not suggesting that there aren't lessons to be learned and there aren't bright sides, but are we striving to attain this like unrealistic level of perfection where everything is like, I love
Yeah.
like,
Like, do we need a lesson every single moment of the day?
I don't feel like I
Like,
want it.
no, like, can we just like feel like crap and just like not have to have some sort of like big realization at the end of it? Like, just kind of move through it and then move on to the next thing. Like, isn't that fine?
Yeah, and that's like where I wonder, there's a lot of everything you look at on social media, there's a lot of controversy and a lot of opinion and all of that, but there's a question now that people are asking, like, is our obsession with catharsis or obsession with, like deep processing, deep
Mm,
reflection internally, are we missing
mm,
the real meaning? Like, is the meaning not just in like the living the experience in the moment?
yeah, absolutely. I think so. And
Mm-hmm.
you also don't have to have an answer for something in the moment either. Like, it's okay to kind of like experience like a hurdle in this moment, and then like next year maybe you'll be like, oh my god, now I'm seeing it in this particular light.
Right.
Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to have like the answers right away. You need to give your mind a break. Like, your muscles can't constantly be working. You can't constantly be awake and like walking around. You need to give yourself a break. I think the mind is no
Mm-hmm.
different.
Yeah, exactly. Um, that brings me to the question then. If we are constantly focusing on this task, this goal of just feeling happy and good all the time, is it having an impact on, our children, the kids who are seeing the way that we are living our lives? Because I remember, like, when all of this started with the pandemic, I posted a video on the mental wellness practices group on Facebook, and I just had to be like really honest, really transparent, that I had started out with this whole thing, like with this idea that this is going to be great. I'm going to have so much time at home, and I'm so fortunate to be able to stay home with my little guy, and I'm going to learn new skills, and we're going to homeschool. And, there are positives, and that's wonderful. But I realized that, I was kind of depriving myself of feeling like what I was really feeling, which was in some ways like scared and uncertain and a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I finally got to a point where I was able to sit down and have a really honest conversation with Jackson, who's 6. So he is younger, but that doesn't mean he doesn't feel it and he's not understanding some of it.
Oh
And
yeah.
when I asked him how he was feeling, he actually came out and asked me, like, when are you going to ask me to focus on the positives, Mom? That's what you always say.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, sometimes that's good, but like a lot of the time it's not necessarily helpful. So we both like got emotional. We both cried and talked about how hard it is. He said that he really misses his friends and he wants to be able to go to gymnastics. And
Hmm.
we just sat there and I said, like, it really sucks. It's really, really hard.
I think that's an incredible learning opportunity, like, to be vulnerable in front of your, well, in your case, in front of your parent and your child. I think that's a way to build trust and comfort and things like that. I think that's special. That's a special moment.
And also resilience, because how are you to be able to look back and say, I've developed resilience without knowing that you went through something tough?
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
It's the only way, really.
it's the only way, because you don't
Go through
understand
tough
resilience.
stuff.
Yeah, like resilience doesn't exist if there's nothing difficult.
Mm.
And I want for him to see that I'm also human and I also experience some of those things, and not for everything to be like, yeah, but you're so fortunate. Like, come on, you have like a beautiful home and lots of toys, and you're healthy. You're so fortunate. Like, he doesn't need to hear
I think
that.
yeah, when you're really upset, you could still have a lot of toys and a beautiful home, and that's great, but you're still allowed to be upset about things, right? Despite that.
Yeah, we can all recall the friend or family member who, when we turned to them for comfort when we were struggling, and they said like, it could be worse, or you be thankful that you're safe, or be thankful that you're healthy, or just look at all the other positives in your life.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. That's pretty much all I heard from most everybody. And
Yeah,
I
like,
probably was guilty of saying it. Oh, I definitely was guilty. I can think of like a couple of times right now where I had said that to people.
me too.
For sure. Yeah.
But I think it's okay to just remember that, like, we don't have to be the voice of positivity on the other side all the time. It kind of removes pressure from us. Like, all our loved ones want is someone real to listen.
Yeah.
And to validate. We don't need to hear, you're so fortunate, look at the bright side. Like,
or that's true, but also using comparison, like, maybe what you're going through is really tough, but like so and so down the street, I mean, they got it a million times worse. Did you hear?
yeah,
That's not helpful either.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, there is definitely, a time where thinking about things relatively and understanding like perspective is important. But I don't necessarily need to hear that it's not that bad.
I know. I want to wallow in my despair right now.
Yeah,
I will get over it, but right now I need to be in it, and I need someone to support me while I'm in there. While I'm there. With your conversation that you said you had with, do you mind if I say his name?
No, who?
Okay, Jackson. The
conversation. Oh, my son. No.
If you want to reveal his name or not, or if you already had.
Yeah.
So like when you guys like kind of cried and talked about like the struggles that you're both facing during this time, like how did that conversation, if you don't mind sharing, like end? If you can recall?
It ended with both of us crying and snuggling and essentially falling asleep like that.
Okay.
I went into the conversation with the intention of like cheering him up. That was my intention. But then I realized through talking that I actually am feeling the same way, and it was such a nice experience. And again, I say nice as in pleasant, because it was helpful. It was such a helpful experience to just acknowledge the tough stuff and cry about it and feel it, and just that was it. We went to sleep.
Yeah. Know that you're not alone, regardless of how old you might be or young you might be. Yeah. I think that's real human connection, and I don't know if we're going to get that when we're all rainbows and butterflies and doing dances on the mountaintop. You know what I mean? Like, that's real and raw human connection.
Yes. Yeah. And there are moments in our lives where we're going to feel like we want to shout from the mountaintops, and we feel wonderful.
My God, yes,
vibrant and sparks of energy and just so inspired or so just like fulfilled. And that's wonderful. That's okay. Like, that, it's okay to share that, and it's good to feel that, but we don't have to spend our every single day seeking out this experience, because like, we've learned when we constantly seek it out, we're kind of like a drug addict constantly seeking out their next high. It's the same experience in our brain. Like, we're seeking releases of chemicals like serotonin that feel really good. And when it's gone, we feel this crash. So we want it again. So we're constantly just seeking it out.
Yeah. That's a cycle. This is a cycle developing there, hey? And I was saying to you a little while ago, and maybe this is probably dependent on like maybe personalities, and maybe introverts might find this more. And I know that I do. Like, if I have a few days where I'm just completely elated and I'm ecstatic and I'm buzzing around and I feel high, so happy, I'll have like maybe double that amount of time where I'm not sad. I'm tired. I feel down, not in a way of being like sad or depressed, just very low energy, very low key. And I think that for somebody who's going through like feeling kind of neutral, they're in kind of like that phase, And if they're scrolling through Facebook and just seeing like, oh, Sarah Jones just climbed a mountain, and oh, Daniel Butt just ran a marathon, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I guess that's not helpful. But at the same time, maybe it's self-awareness, right? Like maybe that's an important tool or skill to have in your back pocket.
We can get inspiration, but I think it's also helpful to remember that that's a tidbit of someone's life. Not everyone feels that high all the time, as high as you feel when you run a marathon or climb a mountain or something else that's really wonderful. No one feels that wonderful all the time. We don't need to like try to attain that feeling 24/7.
Right. Like our reference point don't have to be somebody else, the time somebody else climbed a mountain that one time in their life, right? Mm-hmm.
Which is what we end up doing, but it's not because of that one person. It's because it's hundreds of thousands of people who are posting their best selves.
Absolutely. Maybe like I hear a lot of people say like ditch social media, which you can, and that's fine. And maybe in a way we'd be better off, or we can kind of just go into it with like a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Not set standards for ourselves based on what other people are showing, which is just like a highlight reel, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that can be a very helpful tool to be able to recognize that if you decide to keep social media, which I will, I see a lot of positive things that are helpful to me, but I also am loving that people are feeling like they can be real and that they can say like, today is a bad day. I think that that's important, and we can validate each other by saying, I think that every single person in the world has experienced something other than like high positive vibes as a result of the pandemic. So why are we so afraid to talk about it? Like, why is it that we're so afraid to tell people like, I'm struggling right now?
I'm thinking perhaps like men and women, for example, like their reasons for that is probably different. Mm-hmm. It's scary to be vulnerable. And to be honest about your feelings, and then also at the same time, if you're seeing people like, oh, they're having a grand time with their children during this time, baking and homeschooling and going on hikes and this and that and something else, then it's like, oh my God, like I haven't like gotten off the couch in a week. I haven't done my dishes in a few days.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing for me to share, right? As an example. But those are some of the things that people might think.
Yeah. I know that I've had more males reach out to me privately through email than what there have been women emailing. And generally there's more females posting on the public group than there are males.
Very
so
interesting.
Even that tells me that like males are more likely not to share how they feel out loud, and more hesitant to be really open about it. My friend who I talked to earlier mentioned a book that they read with their class. They're an elementary school teacher, and they read the book Grumpy Monkey with their class. Okay. And it's all about basically like the end message is that it's okay to have a bad day and to be grumpy. And you don't have to spend your day trying to be something else, trying to be pleasant, to put on a face for other people. It's okay to just have a bad day sometimes. Wouldn't it be nice if we could like take that lesson?
It's funny because I think if it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. Like I was like kind of feeling a little cranky. I was a little bit irritable.
Yeah.
And my partner was like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just feel mad and grumpy." He's like, "Oh, well, that's okay. Be mad and be grumpy." I'm like, "Okay."
That's wonderful. That's so wonderful that he was able to say that to you. You know what I mean? It's okay to not in the moment be able to say, or ever to be able to say like, what's the real big lesson from this? Like maybe a lesson will come from it, but maybe it's just like you're human and you're not feeling 100% all the time, whatever 100% means. Oh
yeah, totally. At some point the grumpiness left me, and then I was like kind of neutral again.
Yeah.
There was no revelation or anything like that. It was a thing that happened, and then it passed.
Right. And like I even just caught myself just then. It occurred to me that I referred to being positive or happy as being 100%. And that it's okay not to be 100%. But who decided that feeling like 100% means you feel really happy and positive?
That's interesting that you picked up on that, because I didn't, and that's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't think that because we're not feeling good, I think that by being a human being and existing in this world, you're already at 100%.
Yeah, like
you're already there, right?
Feeling whatever. Like whether you're feeling really bad or really good or just neutral, like why are we grading it? Why is there a percentage? That's
exactly.
Like, we gotta stop grading things. This is what we keep coming to. We keep discovering through our conversations that there's always some measurement on everything we feel and do. We're measuring ourselves constantly. We're even measuring how happy we feel and whether or not that makes us 100% today. Like, I'm not feeling 100% today. Why? Because you're not
Exactly.
like on top of the moon, like floating in the clouds.
Yeah, totally. I'm feeling neutral today, or I'm feeling down, or I'm not really inspired. I'm not at my best. I'm not at my 100%.
Who's to say that because this isn't really awesome, blissful, pleasant, and easy, that I'm not at my best?
Absolutely. That's an excellent point. Me
So
too.
I'm going to like really work on reminding myself that like being at my best or being 100% doesn't have to mean like I feel amazing. Because if that's the case, we're again, like we've talked about before, striving for something that's unattainable because you can't be pleasant and positive and beaming 24/7.
Right. And with regards to yoga, which is like movement meditation, and I do sometimes find myself, my mind wandering during yoga as well. However, I do find it easier to bring myself back to the present. But like, it's a good, I guess, analogy because like if you're doing yoga and you're holding a posture and it's like uncomfortable, how do you respond to that discomfort? Do you like give up? Do you cry? Do you get frustrated? Maybe. Or can you learn to just allow it?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Just be in it.
Yeah, just be in it.
Because sometimes discomfort is helpful. Like sometimes uncomfortable feelings lead to growth. Sometimes it's because we're outside our comfort zone. We're trying something new or we're adapting.
Yeah, totally. You could get into like a posture, yoga posture, and it could be uncomfortable and you're learning like, oh, well, maybe based on my body type, like I can't be in this way, so I'm going to like readjust.
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah, this is a little bit uncomfortable, but maybe if I focus on the breathing and really just kind of feel the discomfort and allow it, then maybe, you know, I'll come out of it. And then maybe tomorrow when I try again or next week, it'll be like so much like easier because my body is changing with it. Right. And acceptance is something that I'm really passionate about because it has changed my life for sure. So I dealt with a lot with intrusive thoughts growing up and sometimes still to this day. And I came to a place of accepting them, accepting what could be tomorrow, accepting how I feel today, and that's just the way it is. Not in a way of like, oh, this is how things are, like I might as well just accept my crappy life, like not like my life circumstances per se, but like how I'm feeling at that moment. And it has like completely transformed my life. 100%. It's kind of like something that I live by, just allowing and accepting. Thinking of some takeaways, which is don't be so quick to perhaps judge these negative situations and feelings. Don't deny yourself the human experience by stuffing them away. What else? Acceptance, allowance.
Yeah, a big one for me is like, let's be mindful not to identify too closely with positive and negative.
Absolutely.
Not everything has to be positive or negative or labeled that way at all. Like some things just are. And sometimes if we could consider things in terms of whether or not they're helpful instead, helpful or not, can help us to identify like not everything that's negative is unhelpful, not everything that's positive is helpful.
I love that. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about what you mentioned in terms of measurement.
Yeah, we gotta stop measuring ourselves. It's not helpful.
Yeah. No, can't be.
Like you're 100% when you are alive and existing.
Yeah.
That's enough. Thank you all for watching. We had so much fun talking about this. We're wondering if you guys are having the same experience. Do you feel like when you look on social media, everyone is always happy and positive? And is it difficult to sometimes share when you're not feeling that way? What's your experience with that? Please click like and subscribe below. If you want to watch our next video, we want to hear from you.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.
They do this song. Da na 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 da 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 na love you anymore. Yeah, it's a bit like being who you are.
Nice. Cheesy. I know, like embarrassment.
Oh, hairy pits.
I don't see anything.
Look.
It looks like just dark spots.
Yeah, the dark spot is called a very big patch of hairy armpit. Hello. Should we get this close in our videos?
So today we wanted to talk about mental health and self-care.
It's okay not to feel really great all the time. I had a teacher in high school who taught me Spanish, and he always called me Black Eyes. And he used to point me out in class and say, he called me Black Eyes, and sometimes he called me Blackie. And he'd say, "What's Blackie thinking out over there? What's Black Eyes saying?"
I have green eyes. Nobody cares about my green eyes, though.
You do have green eyes. I thought they were blue.
You thought wrong.
That's like 29 years of thinking your eyes were blue and being incorrect.
They were blue, but they changed when I got older for some reason.
And why didn't I know this?
Why didn't you ask? Like, why didn't you
Why didn't I
double
say,
check?
Angela, what color are your eyes now?
Sure. Well, don't matter. We can do that one tomorrow and do self-care next time. Namaste. Oh yeah. Oh.
The thing is you're making sounds as if you're making fun of it. But I know that you're doing this often in your daily life. Like, you love it.
I love it. I do it every day.
It does feel
Every
so
hour.
good.
Oh my God. Wait.
I'm Superwoman.
I'm coming to you. I'm coming for you.
Am I coming out stupid?
I have no idea. I think you made it up.